Welcome to Talking Hoosier Baseball. We are recording this on Monday, April 20th, 2026. I'm Carl James, joined by Chris Feeney, Zach Horwitz, and Cassidy Palmer. It was a resurgent week for Indiana baseball as the Hoosiers posted a 4-1 record across 5 non-conference matchups, highlighted by a high-scoring shootout and a resilient series win over Abilene Christian. The week began with a wild 17-12 victory in Terre Haute against Indiana State. After Pete Haas surrendered 3 home runs in a 5-run first inning, the Hoosier offense responded with a barrage of their own, totaling 5 home runs from Cooper Malamazian, Will Moore, Cole Decker, Aydan Crouse, and Caleb Koskie. Anthony Gubitosi provided critical stability with 2 scoreless innings of relief, and Jacob Vogel escaped a bases-loaded no-out jam in the 7th to preserve the lead. Both Crouse and Malamazian finished the night just a double shy of the cycle. On Wednesday, the Hoosiers returned to beat Evansville 8-6. Connor Lynn was dominant, carrying a no-hitter into the 5th inning and at one point retiring 8 consecutive batters. The offense backed him with home runs from Koskie, Jake Hanley, and Braden Rickards. Though a 3-run 9th inning homer by the Purple Aces tightened the score, Gavin Seabold entered to shut the door and secure the win. The weekend series against Abilene Christian opened with a statement 13-3 run rule victory on Friday. Hogan Denny made an electric return to the lineup, crushing back-to-back home runs in his first 2 plate appearances after missing time due to injury. Tony Newbeck labored through 4.1 innings to avoid a big inning, and freshman Kellen English was stellar in relief, striking out 4 in 2 innings of work. The night was capped by Cooper Malamazian joining the 100-hit club before a wild pitch ended the game in the 7th. Saturday proved to be the week's only setback in an 8-4 loss. Despite 8 strikeouts from starter Brayton Thomas, free passes and hit batsmen eventually cost the Hoosiers. Indiana's offensive struggles with situational hitting, stranding the bases loaded in the 1st and 4th innings while also losing runners to a pickoff and a crucial double play. In Sunday's rubber match, displayed the grit that had been missing in earlier 1-run losses. The Hoosiers won the game 5-4. With Connor Lynn struggling on just 3 days rest, Jackson Yarberry became the hero, retiring 13 straight batters during an outstanding middle relief appearance. Caleb Koskie extended his hitting streak to 21 games with a go-ahead RBI single in the 8th, and Regan Rivera navigated a 2-out threat in the 9th to earn Indiana's first 1-run victory of the season. The Hoosiers now stand at 18-22 overall. Beyond the team's success, the offense is clicking at the right time, headlined by Koskie's 21-game hit streak and Jake Hanley extending his streak to 10 games. Cass, what statistical points of interest are you looking at this week?
Yeah, so you actually already mentioned what I'm going to talk about. I really wanted to, this has been a weird couple of days between games and work all day trainings. Those are always fun. But what I really wanted to look at was Koskie's hitting streak. It's up to 21 games. That was last done. That is the most straight games since 2005, and was last done by our red belt namesake Alex Dickerson back in 2010. Now the online resources only go back to that 2005. I do want to try to see if IU Archives maybe has some more, but I couldn't find anything quickly or easily. But I want to do a little bit of supposition here because there is only one player I can think of off the top of my head going back past 2005 who has a decent shot at having done 21 straight games or better. I don't have any evidence of it yet, but I think there's a good chance this hasn't been this kind of streak uh could go back to Mike Smith and his 1992 uh Triple Crown. It is still the only time the collegiate Triple Crown has ever happened is Mike Smith in 1992, where he hit 490. Means he's coming up to the plate and getting a hit almost every other time, at least every other at bat, factoring in plate appearances. I think there's a decent shot he probably is the, if you can even call 1992 modern baseball record holder for streak.
We know someone who should know this.
Do we?
Yes. I'm not going to say who on the podcast, but we know someone who should know this.
Who has a shot at knowing it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my kind of supposition there. And I like the opportunity to throw out the little trivia tidbits of Mike Smith with his Triple Crown. And again, that 490 number just blows my mind. And yeah, that was before they deadened the bats, but so was Dickerson. So or he was right at that time. I think he split the difference.
I mean, it's pretty impressive that it goes beyond 2013 and 14.
Yeah,
When you had and uh particularly Dustin DeMuth,
Dustin,
given that,
even Sam Travis.
yeah.
Yeah, so that, just thinking of all of the, even the consistent bats that we've had over the last
Mhm.
8-10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of those guys who were just not necessarily power guys, but hit machines. They got on base, got on base, got on
Yeah,
base.
but they played tougher schedules.
That's true.
They would face legit top arms in the country occasionally.
That's
And I think that's a piece of the distinction there.
yeah. That is probably true. Uh, but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, and I wasn't going to say anything until he hit the 21, just in case. Now, Austin Render kept mentioning it on the broadcast for a little while. Now, it was even one of his trivia questions of who was the last one. He gave us the year, so that made it real easy. Uh, but yeah, so I want to give a shout out to Koskie, and on Sunday he got it immediately, and we didn't have to think about it the rest of the game. I very much appreciate that. That would have really screwed with my plans. So yeah, it's just something a little fun and lighthearted in our non-conference week. That seemed about right. Chris, who earned the red belts this week?
All right. First, I want to thank the Hoosiers for a positive week during this Mets nonsense. I mean, we've lost 11 games in a row, and I think this is the first week we had 4 wins in a week for Hoosiers, right? That I can remember. Maybe the first positive week even. So it really comes at a good time. I loved getting the revenge against Evansville and Indiana State. Really nice work there. Obviously, Saturday didn't go as well, but just a great week. You got a run rule in there, and getting that first 1-run win is huge. So big week for us. As far as the belts defensively for the Tony Butler, I'm giving it to Will Moore. On Sunday, he's part of that perfectly run wheel play, which, I mean, we've seen us mess this up before, let's be honest. This thing was run perfection, down to the point. I mean, I was watching on TV. I'm going to be calling out, third, and I was hoping that the catcher was calling, because that's all, everybody's involved in that. You got to know, someone's got to tell you to throw it there. The guy's got to beat it. So Moore made that. And then the no-no-yes play he makes right after that, I don't know. I was like, what are you doing? But he bounced it perfectly. And so, the no-no-no-yes for Wilmore on that one. So he gets the defensive, and it's in a huge situation, right? We don't want to blow another one. We don't want to lose the series. And no, both of those plays were done the way they were supposed to. And is Will having the offensive season that we thought? I mean, he's had spurts, don't get me wrong. But, he didn't bring that out on the field. I think Mercer mentioned that, too, in the post game, I remember. Mm-hmm. It's so impressive. And you just have to make the play, right? There were several of those in this past World Series with Carl's Dodgers, right? Like, this is some wild. Like, you either doing this or you're not. And you just got to make the play. You got to execute. And both of those, I don't know about that bounce play, I got to tell you. But, hey, it worked. So that's Wilmore gets the defensive red belt. For the pitching red belt, I'm going Jackson Yarberry. I thought Carl just called it a middle relief appearance in the intro. I don't know about that, bro. I think there was like one out when he came in or something. So I guess that's a middle relief.
And it was planned.
Yeah. For the left.
Coach specifically said that they intended Lynn to face 3, maybe 4 batters. So,
yeah. So, yes, the middle relief appearance. Air quotes if you're listening. 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 hits, 67 pitches. He is definitely lengthened out. I think this is going to be a big shot in the arm to this weekend rotation. And I think he did real well. So he's going to get the Joey Donato Award. And for the Alex Dickerson Award, I mean, if you do something that hasn't been done since the last episode of Lost aired and the first episode of Walking Dead aired, and the first iPad came out and Instagram started, I mean, 2010? That's 21 games in a row getting ahead. Caleb Koskie, well-earned. And he also, he gets the game-winning RBI. Let's not forget that. It wasn't a walk-off, but that's the game winner. Regan walks the tightrope in the 9th, but he gives us the lead in our only 1-run victory of the season. So I thought that was huge. Scored 4 runs on Friday also. I know Friday got a little out of hand, but you score 4 runs in a ball game. That's pretty good. So Caleb Koskie is going to be our Alex Dickerson Award. I mean, we're talking years and years and years have gone by since this has been accomplished. I know Drew Ashley, I remember having an on-base streak that was real impressive, but that included walks, hit by pitches, all that. And Carl, I think Demuth had a streak that extended seasons. There was something with that. And then this is all in one season. This is all happening right now. I know Greg's calling him Mr. April, right? In his tweets. Not Greg, Jared. Jared's calling Mr. April in his tweets. And I think that was a nice little touch. But yeah, so we're going Koskie, Moore, and Yarberry for this week's awards. And we'll kick it over to Carl for some Big Ten updates.
Yes. Okay. So since IU was not in Big Ten play last week, IU started in 12th and actually has fallen down to 13th. But I said that was based on a giant tiebreaker tie group and tiebreakers. Now IU is firmly in 13th with a 1-game advantage over Maryland, Minnesota, and Northwestern, and down a half a game of Michigan State. Let's see here, down 1 game to Iowa, the coming opponent. So obviously a series win over Iowa would be a tie plus head-to-head. So that's huge. That's one thing being only a game ahead of Maryland. Maryland has the head-to-head tiebreaker over IU. So that is another piece of that whole math to look at. Now, on big picture stuff for the conference, obviously the big deal was Nebraska sweeping USC this weekend. And Nebraska comes back into the top 25 as the number 20 team in the country. Their RPI rank is now 14th. So the Huskers are absolutely in hosting range right now with their RPI. USC is still in hosting range with their RPI, even losing those games. Their RPI is still only 15th. So there are three Big Ten teams now, UCLA, Nebraska, and USC, who have top 16 RPIs at the moment. So that will be fascinating to see as it continues. And Oregon is not far off of that group either. And actually, my goodness, you look at this. Michigan is clearly an at-large team right now, and Purdue's not far off. Purdue is not there, but they're not far off. It's really going to depend on how Purdue finishes the season. Of course, Indiana's looking to really spoil that here in a few weeks, but we will see how that particular situation works out. The CRPI IU does not look as good, but that's a lot to do with the fact that that Indiana has faced, Rutgers, Minnesota, and Washington. Actually, Washington is the worst team in the conference in CRPI. The biggest surprise in CRPI is still Michigan being third. So Michigan continues to impress with the strength of schedule metrics. Still, UCLA is on top of all of this everywhere. Their one midweek blip is all they've dealt with recently. As far as pick'ems go, Cassidy and Chris had fantastic weeks. Cassidy had a perfect week. Zach and I, not so much. So Cass now has a 3-series lead over Zach and I, and a 4-series lead over Chris, but Chris is right back in the hunt. So congratulations to you guys. And we've got back to 7 series since IU is in the mix again. UCLA is the team that is playing out of conference. So we don't get an easy one this week. We're gonna have to actually we don't get a freebie. Cass, let's see. Let's hear your picks.
Well, we're gonna see if the vibes only flying by the seat of my pants, like I did last week, is gonna replicate that success. I'm going Oregon because West Coast against Penn State. I am giving the edge to USC because I don't see them losing consecutive weekends. But I think that, and they're the home team, but I think that is a very interesting series. I'm going Michigan because Washington's the one I don't trust out there. I'm going to give Maryland the leg up on Michigan State, but I'm a little cautious on that one. Nebraska over Illinois. I'm going to give Minnesota home field advantage. And I'm going to go Ohio State over Rutgers.
All right. I'll go next. I'm going to go with boy, I'm going to go with Michigan State over Maryland. I really actually thought about picking Illinois to do the upset because they are tough to beat in Champaign, but Nebraska's just too hot. I'm sticking with Nebraska. Minnesota at home. I'm going to go with Rutgers at home, Oregon at home. I've been riding with the Boilers, unfortunately, all year. I'm not stopping now. I need at this point I'm down. I need an upset. So I'm picking Purdue to upset USC in Los Angeles. And yeah, I'm sticking with Michigan.
Carl, for the first time in 2, maybe 3 weeks, we actually don't have the same picks outside of one game. I'm going to take USC at home against Purdue. It's the first time in 3 or 4 weeks, I think. You and I have both been riding Purdue. It ends here for me. So I've got all the home teams except for Nebraska over Illinois.
Chris.
All right. So, well, first of all, I just wanted to mention, So I'm in Aldi the other night, and some guy's like looking at me, and I don't know what he's looking at me for. And then I bump into him again by the registers, and he's like, "You do the IU Based podcast, da, 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 da. You tell those guys I love it." So I don't know who this guy was, but he's a current listener because he mentioned Zach. So it can't be somebody too far back.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to pass that along. Whoever that was in Aldi, I appreciate the nice words, and I'm passing it along to everybody right now. As far as the picks, Purdue cost me. I texted you, Call. Here's 8 winners, if you remember. And I didn't have Purdue, so I went, 7-1 instead. But I did call 8 winners when I sent my picks in, man. This damn Boilers screwed me. So I'm going to go USC for that one. Oregon, Minnesota. Carl mentioned it. I think that home field advantage is real. I've mentioned it before on here. As long as they're out of that football stadium, they have a nice home field advantage. Nebraska. I mean, I've been all on Nebraska, but I thought it was because maybe I was like biased because they always beat us, but they're on fire. Like Carl said, I mean, they're probably going to host, right? Now, this one I know you're like, I can't believe he's doing this. I'm taking Maryland. And the reason why is because we need Sparty. Even though I've been on him for weeks, we need him to start losing if you look at the standings right now. So is that a homer pick? Yes. I don't care. I want us to make the tournament. So I'm going Maryland for that reason alone. And then I got Rutgers and Michigan also for my picks.
I'd also like to throw in, I tuned into a couple of these games this weekend. Maryland stinks, Washington stinks, and Indiana lost to both. And if they played again, I know Maryland was just last weekend, that shouldn't have happened, clearly. Those two teams have no business beating Indiana. I just want to mention that to close out the segment here. Because I watched plenty of that. And that Iowa-Maryland series, Iowa's not, I mean, I'll talk about it just now, but Iowa is not much better than Indiana is in terms of record, in terms of play on the field. And they handled Maryland the first 2 games. So I guess that'll lead me into the Iowa preview here. So the Hawkeyes are 21-16 overall, 7-11 in the conference. So that Carl mentioned before, they're 2 spots above Indiana. They have 1 more win. In their series, they played 6 Big Ten series, and they're 3-3 in those, but they've gotten swept by UCLA and USC. So that's really countered that. They beat Penn State, they beat Minnesota, they beat Maryland, and then they lost to Michigan State. That's the 6th series. So they've been decent. They got crushed by those 2 West Coast teams that have dominated. I guess Nebraska dominated USC, but USC and UCLA have been pretty dominant over the course of the year. So they got swept by those 2. They have 3 starters who aren't overpowering. The Friday night guy, Tyler Guerin, 6.6 ERA, 30 walks to 23, 30 strikeouts to 23 walks. Still not very good. That's their Friday night guy. So Indiana definitely has the advantage with Tony Newbeck going on Friday. And then their best guy actually comes in on Saturday, Maddox Frazee. He has just about a 3 ERA, 31-12 strikeout to walk rate. I think that was what stood out to me there. And then their Sunday guy, they kind of pitched with a committee on Sunday, but Logan Rundy, 5.3 ERA. He walked a bunch of batters last week. He only finished 3, maybe it was 4 innings. So they staffed their Sunday game. They used 9 pitchers this past Sunday against Maryland, and they lost that one. So in addition to that pitching, nobody in their regular bullpen usage has an ERA under 5. So again, this is a weekend where you would like to score a bunch of runs. The last few games, I never really focused on this too much until the last few weeks because Indiana's power surge has started, but the wind has been blowing south. So Indiana hasn't hit as many home runs over the last 2 weeks. But if it does blow out to left field, like I feel like it normally does, this could be a big week for it. In terms of hitting, Iowa is second actually in the Big Ten with batting average with 312 team batting average, but they're bottom of the league in home runs with just 34. In comparison, Indiana has 50 home runs as a team. They steal a ton. That's one big thing. I'm not really sure the numbers on it, but Indiana hasn't really gotten stolen on much No one's really stolen many bases, but Iowa does. They have 74 stolen bases as a team that's second in the Big Ten as well as their batting average. One guy that stands out in their order that is much better than the rest, Gable Mitchell. He's their two-hole hitter. 389 average, leader in extra base hits, total bases by a wide margin, 90 total bases this year. Cooper Schulte is their leadoff man. He has an over 300 average. He struggled this past weekend a lot. I think he only had one hit. So Indiana looks to keep him off the board. And then on that stolen base number, Joey Nerat and Kellen Strohmeyer are their two kind of middle of the order guys. They're a combined 31 for 31 this year, stealing bases. So I would assume that they would steal at least once or twice this weekend against what I would assume is TJ or Braden Ricketts, who's caught all 3 games the last few weekends. But that closes it out for Iowa. This is definitely a winnable series. Indiana has to win Friday. That pitching discrepancy between having Tony Newbeck back on a Friday and Braden Thomas has to step it up, especially on Saturday against Iowa's best guy. And then Sunday will just be who can pull it out like it has been recently. So fortunately, there's been no Indiana players on the New York Mets this year. So Chris, can we talk about our Hoosiers in the pros that are maybe winning some games these days?
I'm telling you, to watch the MLB these days, I had the only time I could watch somebody win, it's because I'm following, Kyle Schwarber or Devin Taylor or Jack Perkins. Perkins did get his first win. He threw 2.1 innings pitched, picked up a win this year. Devin Taylor, his first home run of the year. So that's nice to see. Kyle Schwarber, his 7th home run of the year. I mean, a lot of guys to follow in MLB. The Mets, none of them are on the Mets because we don't win games. 0-11 is kind of brutal. My prediction is that our guy Mendy is not the Mendoza that everybody likes. This is a different Mendoza. Is the head coach of the Mets, that he's going to get fired, and Carlos Beltran, I think, is going to be the new manager of the Mets soon. That's going to be my prediction. We do have a promotion to announce. Cole Gilly got a promotion to the Clearwater Threshers, which is like a high A affiliate of the Phillies. So that was great to see. And just to keep up with all our alumni is at DC Welsh _24. He's really been killing it with the videos and the highlights and the whole thing. He kind of took the reins from Pro Bowl Hoosiers, who's kind of just putting it on the side a little bit, for now. And David is he's been on the pod the last, a couple times in this season. And he just does a great job. He's even got guys who have transferred out at times. Like if you ever even tried on a Hoosier jersey, David's going to find you. And he's going to put your highlight out there. And this way we could have a chance to see, our guys go for their dreams and their goals. And maybe the Mets will win before the next podcast.
We feel for you, Chris. We do.
I know, it's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, 11. That's
Dude,
rough.
5 is rough. I'm
Yeah.
trying to explain this to somebody. I'm like, yo, you could by accident go 2-9.
Yeah.
And you'd be so upset, right? You'd be like, I've only 0-11. Oof.
All right. Well, so we had 5 non-con games, kind of a low stress week for the Hoosiers. So what did we like as a group about how this team developed, and what do we think? Do we think this is a good enough positive, towards these last 4 Big Ten series?
Yeah, I'll open up here. I think what I said last week is that I wanted Indiana to start fast. I felt like whenever they had an early lead that they would go and win the game. They actually had a lead after the first 3 innings of all 3 games this weekend. It was a strange series, actually. Friday night was Indiana's run rule, 13-3. Saturday, they lost it in the middle innings. The 4th and the 5th, Brayton Thomas kind of lost it. But that was, I guess, somewhat competitive, even though they lost by 4. They were in it towards the end. And then Sunday, you've seen the first time that they really faced adversity towards the end of a game. They blew a lead and somehow still pulled it out. I think that was a big growing, like steps of growth, I think, in that one. The pitching performances, Friday night, Tony Newbeck, I mean, honestly wasn't that sharp. He didn't even get through the fifth. But they hit their way to that win. Brayton Thomas, I think he'd be the first person to tell you that he didn't do well enough on that Saturday. Um, he only pitched 3.1 innings. He had a career high 8 strikeouts. Carl, I think you mentioned the number to me when we were talking about it the next day that I think it was 80% or something of his
Mm-hmm.
outs were strikeouts. I mean, the guy was dealing when he could throw it in the zone, but he had 3 walks, 4 hits, and 2 hit by pitches as well. That has been like a theme with him throughout this year. I guess that's just throwing inside on lefty hitters, especially. And then Sunday, Chris gave him the red belt. I think Jackson Yarberry's 5 innings has really changed the outlook on the whole pitching side for the entire season. And Connor Lynn also, during that midweek, he was great. So I think they took huge steps this week, and I appreciated being at the park. They were competitive. It was fun to be at these games. Yeah, also playing a new opponent. Like obviously Indiana played Abilene Christian a year ago, but just it's a different team, a different logo that you don't see often. And I think they had a pretty decent weekend in the midweeks as well. They scored plenty of runs.
Yeah, and that's what stood out to me, particularly the Indiana State and the Friday game against Abilene Christian, was seeing them on offense just put the pedal to the metal and let's see how many runs we can score. Let's not even think about the pitching. And then when the pitching did give up 12 against Indiana State, it didn't matter. We scored 17. And what had to have been one of the longest games we've had in quite a while. So I did like to see that. It then kind of disappeared on Saturday and Sunday a little bit. But it was good seeing the offense just run and not really look back.
One other thing that I'd like to mention, which that was my first question to Coach Mercer on that Friday night. Indiana ran the bases better this weekend than they had any time all season. I think it was 5 stolen bases, if that I believe that was the number. They advanced on, I think, 4 or more wild pitches. They went back on line drives where that has been they've been thrown out on double plays like multiple times this year on line drives in the infield. So that was nice to see that they ran the bases well. And one more thing in terms of depth, we got pitching depth now that you have Yarberry that can throw as a starter. Aydan Crouse was really phenomenal this week, and he played well in the outfield. Hogan Denny was injured in that Maryland game. Crouse stepped up at the plate and in the field. So now they have 4 outfielders that they can use, and that also opens up a DH spot. Denny's on a tear. I mean, he had 2 home runs in his first 2 at-bats back from an injury. Koskie's been swinging the bat hotter than anyone maybe in the country right now. And Cole Decker as well. I think he had a double-digit hit streak. And so all these guys are clicking right now. And when it comes to this weekend, they're out of the field right now of the Big Ten tournament by 1 spot. So this weekend they need to swing the bat well.
Yeah. And I also want to give a shout out to Fry. You talked about Crouse stepping up while Denny was injured. Fry played a position he hasn't really played at all when Will Moore took the hit by pitch, moving over to third. So I do want to give him credit there. He did a serviceable job while he was over there.
He was the third baseman in high school, so
yes, but he hadn't.
Not done it at the
collegiate
level. Yeah.
I thought it was great to see Denny back. Obviously, he didn't wait too long to announce himself back, but I feel like he's a lot of the motor of this team. Whether it's energy-wise, no offense to Jake or Cooper and these other guys, I feel like Denny's a little different. For whatever the case may be, maybe he's a little more comfortable in his own skin, and he can wear the headband, and he can just kind of let it rip a little bit. And I just think when he, like, we've had other guys like this, in the past that just seem to be the motor, right? Glasser was the motor. And then we've had others. I don't want to just start listing names because you don't want to leave anybody out. But Denny coming back, I think, is really big. And the fact that he came back and performed so well is huge. I wasn't able to get to the games, but from what I watched on TV, I saw a lot of good body language. It didn't seem like the same woe was me kind of stuff. Now, obviously, winning helps that. I get that. But we were down 4-0 against Indiana State in the first inning. Let's not forget that, right? And boom, what was it, 10 straight runs? So that was great to see. I think Coach mentioned it in the presser, and I know he acknowledged that it was the first one-run win, right? Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal up here, right? That's a big deal mentally. It's like, oh, we can't do it. That's over now, and let's take, and it was great, take that to the rest of the Big Ten conference games because we know those are the ones that matter. But maybe it was the Abilene Christian series winner that made us believe and got people to believe. And, and going forward, look, we did it. It's over. We've won a one-run game. We've won a close game. And the Rivera closer experiment, got off to a successful start. I'll put it that way because it was successful. We won the game.
Yes.
And whatever they decide to do that going forward, because obviously it can't be Yarberry anymore. And if you bring in Seabold too early, there's always going to be that inning where you got to have somebody. So maybe Rivera is who they're trying out. We'll see how that goes. But just happy week. 4-1 is a happy week.
Yeah. Also, that Friday night, Kellen English was the one who closed it out. That was the run rule game, but he threw 2 innings, allowing 1 hit, which was a home run, and that was all. He had 4 strikeouts. Carl and I always assess Kellen English and Javi Carrera, I guess, when the 2 of them come in, just because we're at this point in the year where Indiana's not going to make the tournament, and you're looking ahead to the future. These 2 are like, mainly Kellen English, like a legitimate arm with real stuff. And so every time he goes out there, the 2 of us always appreciate it. So he threw 28.
Well, English's numbers are so good that he could get poached, honestly. The StatCast and the, whatever, RPMs and all that stuff, like he could go somewhere else. But maybe he wants to just start for us and not relieve in another conference or whatever the case. I mean, we saw what scouts will take a shot on, and he's got what they like. Hopefully we have him at least another season. That would be great. And then Javi, I think he just has to find himself. He seems to have a hard time finding the zone. But I know Coach raved about him long before the season started, and definitely have hopes for him to do real well.
Yep. I think the biggest thing for Indiana right now is that for the first time, I mean, basically, and this is most of the last few weeks, but before that, it was always, when is the team going to get to the top of the order? That was what you were always thinking. Now we're back to, this is an Indiana offense, which means it can score at any point. And we haven't felt like that for most of this season. And I even look at Saturday, and I know they didn't produce a lot of runs on Saturday, but being there in the park, they were smoking balls.
Mm-hmm.
Right at. I mean, it felt like Abilene Christian had IU perfectly scouted on every piece of contact. It's just, yep, it's right at him, catch. And it was just, that ball was smoked. And that you have days like that, which is why, to me, it wasn't a big deal. Another piece of that is Sunday, was a day in which it was interesting because Coach made the point in the presser that I think someone asked about it. Maybe it was you, Zach, that said that Abilene at hit. Yeah. And he goes, that is, and Coach was talking about, that is so rare to win a game when you're out hit. Well, I think IU's lost like 4 games this year in which they've out hit the opponent. So again, that goes to the execution piece, finding other ways to score runs when you're not getting hits. Because in that case, it was more of the fact that they had, a string of funky lefties, and it is not something they see very often. This year in particular, Am I wrong in thinking that the opponent pitching has been dramatically more right-handed than we're used to seeing?
That's what because I do a quick jot of
Mm-hmm.
if pitchers are right or left-handed, so I don't have to look it up later. And I've noticed lots of righties, lots and lots and lots,
Yeah.
whole games where it's just righties,
Right.
and it's like 5, 6, 7 pitchers,
Yeah.
and they're all righties.
And almost all of the big prospects we've been looking at on the opposing teams have been righties.
Mm-hmm.
When in the past there's been a string of these uber lefties, like the guy from Michigan State last year. And Iowa's always seems to have several of them. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up our discussion for this week. So we want to thank you for listening to this episode of Talking Hoosier Baseball. For more on Indiana University baseball, hit up iubase.com. For Cassidy Palmer, Zach Horwitz, and Chris Feeney, I'm Carl James. See you at the BART.